Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Just joining us. Just to let you know, obviously, I'm wearing an Apple Watch. Not that I'm boasting anything. Anyone, everyone's got an Apple Watch these days. But at about 10:02 or thereabouts, no, 10:01, it tells me that I'm live. I know. Andy Darvell says, hang on a minute. He says, morning, morning, morning. I've actually been busy unloading big steel pipes. Good for you, sir. Good for you. Dan Cullen says, don't forget to pack spare bag for goodies. Dan, just to set your mind at ease, here's the thing. So we're only going for a week. We go on the Saturday and we actually leave on the Friday. We don't get back to the UK until Saturday, but we're there basically for 6 days. And bearing in mind I'm traveling with my son, and I have no secrets. We were actually at one point thinking, well, maybe we'll just take one suitcase and we'll pack all our clothes in one. And then we thought, what about the goodies though? So we're both taking a case. So there's plenty of room. Andy Darvell saying, wicked hat. Thank you very much indeed. Haven't seen Jeff Pinion for quite some time, but he kindly provided that. Now, I am going to say good morning to, as Dan, also admiring the hat. Jim Turner is here. Good morning, Jim. Andy Thornton is here. Morning all. Welcome to Hump Day. Yes, Hump Day and Pinch Punch first day of the month as well. Mark Whiting is here, so we all have our permission to continue. But the first time, I normally spot these people over lurking stealthily over on Instagram. They're here in person on Facebook today. LC International. You know those fine folks that sell Hydromec and Sunward. Yes, they do. Listen, you have no excuse but to reach out and speak to them. Yeah, there you are. Good morning, LC International Limited. I feel kind of bad not knowing actually what your name is. And are you the same person that watches every day? Are you male or female? Are you long, tall? Are you short and fat? Who are you? What are you? But thank you for being here. You're very, very welcome. And if you feel like it, you can drop into the chat exactly where people can find you. Your web address or whatever it might be, and people will be able to find you. And apparently the man at LC International is called Dan. We've already got a Dan here, but that's okay. We can cope with more than one Dan. Good morning to you. Hey, can you get them to chat to me, LC International, for a test run? Well, hey, listen, Dan, meet Dan. Dan, meet Dan. Enjoy. You are now in contact. Dan Cullen, although Dan is actually watching over on YouTube this morning, but I'm fairly sure he's on Facebook as well. But yeah, Dan Cullen meets Dan from LC International. And if you want to find their web address, you can find it right there. lcinternationallimited.com/shop. Yeah, go and fill your boots, people. Go and have a look at what they have on offer. I have to say, last couple of years, I've been particularly impressed. I saw some very early doors Sunward machines, and I thought, yeah, not sure about those. And then the plant works before the one that's just gone. I saw Sunward again and thought, bloody hell, they've come on a bit. Absolutely top notch, really, really smart machines. And I think everybody knows I've got a bit of a thing for the whole Turkish delight that is Hydromec, particularly their opera cab. Big fan of the opera cab. If you know anyone at Hydromec that would like to kit out this office in the style of a Hydromec opera cab, I'd be game. I'd be up for that. I don't suppose they want to do that at all, but hey, you never know till you ask. We've got loads and loads to get through today, so let me roll the intro and get this show on the road, and then we'll get into the sordid business of giving stuff away immediately after this. It is Wednesday, the 1st of October. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. Anybody tuning in to this show for the first time and hearing me describe myself as the walrus of demolition will be deeply confused, and I'm okay with that. In today's show, at the wheel of the Liebherr TA 230 articulated hauler. Case boosts its backhoe power. We're staying grounded with John Deere, and small but perfectly formed, the latest compact radius excavator from the fine folks at Hyundai. And in my morning monologue today, holding up a mirror to the demolition industry, but it applies equally to the construction industry as well. There is no question of the day today because we are going to stick, possibly for the last time. My supplies are largely depleted, so thank you for that. Thank you for helping to clear my office. But we do have a couple of giveaways to do today. So I'm going to do the usual thing. I'm going to ask you to type a word into the chat. What shall I ask you to type? Stuff. Again, STUFF. Stuff. Just type stuff into the chat. Starting now, but let me have this one. You've got a minute to win it.
T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah, Mark Whiting just crept in under the wire there when nobody was looking. We've got 6 entries for you today, which you may or may not be able to see on that screen. Without further ado, let me press the draw button and see who's got today's big prize. Like this. How weird is that? If you were here yesterday, you will remember that Dan Cullen, who used to win all the everything all the time, used to win all the time and then couldn't buy a win. The system must have been listening because this morning, Dan Cullen, you are the winner. Congratulations, my friend. I will ask you to reconfirm your address. I've probably got it here somewhere, but just to be absolutely sure, reconfirm your address and I will get that over to you forthwith. Andy Dalwell says, there you go, Dan. You can stop moaning now. I don't suppose he will for one moment, but for just this morning, he's a happy bunny. Jim Turner, fair play, Dan. Yeah, and Dan's the man. Dan is the man, and there's Dan himself. Unbelievable. Yes, it is unbelievable, but I have noted it down. I will bag that up just as soon as I've got your address. I haven't been to the post office for the last couple of days, actually, so I owe both Chris Ford and Mick Norton some stuff. I will get that to you just as soon as I can. Not only have I run out of prizes, run out of boxes. I had a box of unmade cardboard boxes. Used them all up. That's how much we've given away recently. I'm hoping to do a lot more of that when I get back from the US of A. It is time to crack on, I would suggest. So let's have a bit of this. Trying to get my layout right on this, which should look a bit like that, I would say. So yeah, you know the Labour government's plan to build 1.5 million new homes within the next 5 years, and about how they seem to run up against problems on a daily basis. Not enough people to build them, not enough people coming into the industry, materials hard to come by, costs, planning, everything else. It's not gone away. It's not going away. 700 housing schemes are stalled in S106 affordable uptake crisis. This is according to Construction Inquirer this morning. More than 700 housing developments have stalled across England as housing associations walk away from Section 106 deals, leaving thousands of affordable homes at risk of standing empty. Research by the Home Builders Federation shows around 8,500 affordable homes due for completion in the next 12 months could be left without occupants because registered providers are no longer taking them on. At least 900 already completed homes are already standing empty. Section 106, just in case you don't know, underpins almost half of all affordable housing delivery, and they rely on housing associations purchasing discounted units from developers. But a perfect storm of economic pressures and policy uncertainty has seen providers pull back, leaving projects stranded and further undermining the government's 5-year housing plan. Bet Mr. Starmer is really, really pleased that he pinned his entire government on the ability to deliver 1.5 million new homes. If only he'd asked. If only he'd phoned one of us. Hello, Mark, it's Kia here. Going to build 1.5 million new homes in the next 5 years. To which my answer would have been, you fucking ain't. Yeah. One of the joys of governments working in splendid isolation from the real world. Gary Muirhead says, Dan, did I miss something? Well done, Dan. Yes, you did miss something. Were you at the bar, Gary? Were you? Or were you doing your morning lengths? I'm talking swimming, just to be clear. Gary's on holiday. Were you doing your morning lengths? Or were you posing by the... I don't know what you were doing. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Let's start the show, shall we? We're going to do a bit of Caterpillar first, like... See, Gary Muirhead proving once and for all that drink is bad for you, not just in the normal sense. He went to the bar, came back, prize draw was all over. It's cost you dear, Gary. It's cost you dear, but don't worry. All things being equal, I shall return from the States with loads of stuff to give away. By the time I get back, you'll be back and you won't be at the bar. I can only apologise for that. Yes, it is time to start the show proper. And we're going off to get behind the wheel and the controls of the TA 230 articulated hauler from those very fine folks at Liebherr.
Seatbelt on. For machine-specific instructions, refer to the operator's manual behind your seat. Turn on the key. Wait for the screen to load. Home screen. Service codes. Machine hours. Status symbol. DPF soot loading, AdBlue filling level, fuel level, coolant temperature, retarder braking, tip tally, truck information, including inclination, engine status, air conditioning and cabin settings, machine configuration, including greasing. For safety functions, press the confirm key. Information, including tip tally reset, fuel consumption. Lights, wipers and mirrors. Multifunction switch, including horn, lights and wipers. Steering wheel, retarded braking adjustment and speed limitation. Steering wheel adjustment, gear selection, forward with shift lock or manual mode. Dump body, raise, and lower. Auto braking, confirm button, keypad for park brake, engine start and stop, auto tip, hard stop, diff locks and radio mute. Momentary diff lock, truck information, brake pedal, accelerator pedal.
Very smart indeed. I want to say good morning to Stephen McCann. If that is a Stephen McCann of Demolition fame over on Instagram, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Going back to the plan to build 1.5 million new homes. Mick Norton, 1.5 million homes, Starmer, not as long as the hole in your ass faces Mother Earth. Never heard that expression before, but I like it. Gary Muirhead says, Liebherr TA 230, really nice truck, but I still think the benchmark is Volvo. We took delivery of some new age 45 trucks, and wow, talk about all the bells and whistles, everything you can think of, even more than my car. I wouldn't argue that. I mean, I've been in the TA 230, and it is a spectacularly fine machine. But the Volvo is still the benchmark. I absolutely agree with you. Dan Cullen saying, thank you, everyone. Yes, Gary, won money a night with the Demolition and the Dancing Girls. See, you go to the bar at the wrong time. This is the price you pay, I'm afraid. What are we looking at? Was out of the cab throwing a few Fs about the place? Not like you at all, Dan. Oh, no, hang on a minute. That's just like you, Dan. We were looking at the Volvo TA 230. Has anyone actually seen a Liebherr truck in the wild? I have. Yeah, a couple, actually. A couple. Trying to remember. I know I was up country somewhere in a quarry. There was a couple there, and I've seen another one since. I've seen them overseas as well. But yeah, they are out there. There's somebody out there. Let's have what do we have next? I could never remember this. Let's have a bit of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Let's talk backhoe loaders, or more specifically, let's talk case backhoe loaders and their boosted power.
Two new features are designed to boost productivity and performances on back operations, Power Lift and Power Boost. Power Lift is a feature that increases the hydraulic relief pressure to the backhoe functions while reducing at the same time the maximum engine speed to 1500 rpm. This slows the hydraulic responsiveness while allowing for higher lifting capacities for precision operations, such as setting pipes. It is enabled using a rocker switch located on the right rear panel inside the cab. Power boost is similar to power lift, as it also increases the hydraulic relief pressure to the backhoe functions, but it does not change or limit the engine speed. It is a momentary enhancement that remains on for 4 seconds, using a switch on the joystick or on the mechanical lever depending on the machine backhoe controls. It's designed for a little extra shot of hydraulic power needed, for example, to break through frost, pull up a tree stump, or lift the piece of stubborn sidewalk.
Dan Cullen says, you missed earlier comment to LC International. I didn't, you know. I didn't. I did do the introduction, but I'll go back. LC International, Dan, here's my email. I'm not seeing any email. There you are. Gary Muirhead says, getting closer to your big trip. Is the excitement set in yet? Yeah, it's getting there. It's a weird one, isn't it? 2 things. It's a long, well, it's not a lot. I've got a 9-hour flight. We're flying to Atlanta on the way out. Fly to Atlanta, got a couple of hours stopover, and then we carry on down to Kentucky. So quite a long flight. I don't dislike flying. I just find it very, very boring. So I'm not looking forward to that. There is also the other bit in which it's going back to America now. I love America. I love Americans, but I'll be absolutely honest. There is a bit of me that is not necessarily looking forward to that element of it. But the actual show itself, it's first time at the show, first time in Kentucky, first time meeting a lot of the people there. So I'm looking forward to that bit enormously. Mike Wolf says, I've seen Liebherr mining trucks at mine sites in Chile. The mining firms thought they were as good as Komatsu haul packs. They were running as well. Not a lot wrong with the haul packs, though, I have to say. Very, very smart machines. We need something else, don't we? What do we need? I think we're about
Since
here.
the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Dan has just typed, is email. I don't know. Is email? Not sure where you're going with that, Dan, but while you're figuring that out, time to stay grounded with those fine folks at John Deere.
Back in 1997, Steve Olson said, I'm only going to have 2 crews. He still today comes in, he goes around the office, he goes, wow, I would have never thought it would come to this. It's just cool to see the business grow. I like the guys. I like the atmosphere, being outside. You couldn't ask for a better job to be outside, enjoy the outdoors in the Midwest. We want a customer that's happy, and that's the support we get from John Deere. You have to go the extra mile. You want your customer to be happy. Our dealer has always treated us the same, whether we were just starting out with a one-man crew, one-man company, until we've grown now to the 25, 30 people. They always help us through whatever problems we have. If there's a service code, we can contact the dealer and say, hey, this code came up. What do you think? What should we do?
We can call them as soon as something happens, and usually before they even know. Operations Center is a no-brainer for us and the customer. We can look up what's going on with the machine before we get to the site, and that helps us bring the correct parts out to the site, hopefully eliminating service calls.
John Deere Operations Center, it really makes you realize the cost of idle time, cost of fuel. You can share that information with the operators in the field. If you have idle time, it's not only the idle time, but it's the depreciation of the equipment. You're losing warranty, or it shows efficiencies. If your back was waiting, do you need another haul truck? Or is there a haul truck waiting, the excavator's working, let's switch it up. With John Deere Protect, an extended warranty is always a good option.
Every machine out here's got an extended warranty on it.
It's a known cost. If you have your extended warranty, we know this machine isn't gonna cost us, besides preventative maintenance, for the lifespan of the warranty. It's all about cost per hour. It's better off to keep the stuff current, under warranty, and you're ahead of the game.
It just gives you a peace of mind with extended warranty.
It's just all in all, knowing the overall health of your investment. Your equipment is your biggest investment. And if it's not running, it's not operating at peak performance, it's really hard to make it work. It's a fast-paced industry where you can't afford downtime. The more you can plan ahead, the longer it's covered, it's better for everybody.
Very smart. We've got one more film for you, which is a nice quick one, 45 seconds, featuring a new compact radius or reduced radius Hyundai machine, which I'll show you after this. Yes, up next is the compact radius Hyundai HX 355 ALCR. Compact radius, not a particularly compact name, but here it is. Yeah, pretty smart, pretty smart. Anyone seen one of those in the wild? You may do soon. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. Only 2 more shows before I'm away for a week, so make the most of it. Fill your boots, as they say. If you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back with bit of a bitch, bit of a whine, bit of a moan, bit of a rant after this. I was introduced recently to a man I'd never previously met. The person doing the introduction said, "This is Mark Anthony of Demolition News. He's not well liked in the demolition industry because he has a nasty habit of telling the truth." I think he meant it as a compliment. And that's certainly how I'm going to take it. But he was right. I have been described as a disgrace to the industry and much, much worse. Demolition contractors have been advised and even warned about doing business with me. I've been barred from industry events, and I no longer receive communications from many of those that purport to represent the industry, even though Demolition News is far and away the biggest demolition media outlet in the entire world. As a result, I'm an outcast, a pariah. But let me let you in on a little secret. Across the span of more than 36 years as a professional journalist, I've been threatened with legal action 4 times. None of those cases ever proceeded. Because while my words may have caused discomfort, upset, outrage, and offense, they were always factual. Believe me when I tell you that I plan my words, sentences, and paragraphs every bit as meticulously as people plan demolition projects. Where we differ, however, is that demolition contractors receive complaints when they've done something wrong. They've caused too much noise, dust, or vibration. They've suffered an unplanned or uncontrolled collapse. They've had an injury or fatality on their site. I, meanwhile, get complaints because a demolition contractor has done something wrong. They've caused too much noise, dust, or vibration. They've suffered an unplanned or uncontrolled collapse. They've had an injury or fatality on their site, and I've reported on it. Although there are some that would have you believe otherwise, I don't invent issues or manufacture industry problems. I merely report on them. I hold up a mirror to the industry to show its true face, warts and all. And if, as is often the case, the industry doesn't like what it sees, it shouldn't be blaming the mirror or the person holding it. Just to further illustrate this point, think about this. If I report on the introduction of a new demolition machine or a demolition attachment, no one ever accuses me of making it up, of accentuating the negatives, of playing fast and loose with the facts in pursuit of online fame and virality. Everyone just accepts the facts as they're stated, and that I've got no vested interest. It's only when the news being reported shows an individual, a company, or the wider industry in a negative light that my journalism is called into question. When we report that someone has been injured, maimed, or killed on a demolition site, I'm reporting it because it happened. The correct reaction to that is not bloody Mark Antony making us look bad again. The correct response surely is learning from the incident and hoping in the hope of ensuring that it never happens again. When we report on corruption, collusion, bid rigging, and price fixing, I'm not doing it out of spite or malice. It's already in the public domain. People already know about it. I'm not spreading lies or dealing in fiction. Once again, surely the correct response is to learn from past mistakes. When I point out sexual or racial discrimination within the sector, I haven't created some fantastical fairy tale from some imaginary place far, far away. I'm doing it because this is a reality with the industry, and in the possibly vain hope that the industry might take it upon itself to do better in the future. When I report on someone from within the industry taking their own life, I'm not suggesting that the industry itself handed that person a handful of pills or helped them fashion a noose. I'm merely pointing out that when the industry suicide rate is almost 4 times the national average, maybe that's more than a coincidence. As an industry, we like to tell ourselves this is not who we are. But demolition workers are injured or killed every single year. Demolition and construction sites are still hostile towards women and those of a different ethnic background. And while the CMA investigation brought it out into the open, the corruption it revealed had been a poorly kept secret within the industry for decades. We might prefer not to see it. We might prefer not to acknowledge it. But this is who we are. This is precisely who we are. The first step in solving any problem is recognizing that there is one. The global demolition industry isn't pink and fluffy. It doesn't exist in some parallel universe of pure positivity in which no one ever dies, is ever hurt, and where everyone is treated as an equal. And if the industry thinks it is, it really needs to look a bit harder and a bit longer into that mirror I'm holding. There you are. Yes, I was actually introduced that way. This is Mark Antony of Demolition News. He's not well liked because he has a nasty habit of telling the truth. Wow. It's weird that you can stand out for telling the truth, isn't it? Dan can't say my email doesn't come up. There's probably to stop people kind of spamming, I guess. But you know where to find the LC International now. Have a word, and it's Dan you're after. You should be able to remember that. Have you got any videos on the new 14-ton Kubota coming to the UK? Not yet. You'd have to think it must be coming. Although, if you remember rightly, that 14-tonner was announced, I mean, probably about a week before, or 2 weeks before Bauma. By the time that's all kicked in and they've actually put stock in place, maybe now is about the time we should be expecting it. Jim says, Gary, I was having a look at the Kubota 145 last week. Looks a nice tool, but looks aren't what matters. I'd like to put one through its paces, see how good it is. It is when you scratch away at the surface, though. It is ultimately a Liebherr, isn't it? I'll be surprised if it's not up to the job. Let me put it like that. Andy Thornton says, if no one's complaining, you're either doing something wrong or you're not going far enough. Yeah. Seriously, though, I get these things second, third, and fourth hand. I mean, with the whole CMA thing, I revealed that. I went public with it 4 years before it actually came to fruition. And, there were people within industry circles saying, he's making it up. It's not real. It's never happened. There is no investigation. It's just Mark Antony looking for viral content. No, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to tell lies, because if I tell lies or I print something that's libelous or scurrilous in any way, I can be sued. I don't want to be sued. I have to. All I can do is state the facts. The facts may not be popular all the time, but that's all I can do. Jim Turner says, Mark, the show is called Demolition News. There's a clue for people. The news reports what's happening, what's coming next, and people's concerns. Yeah. The problem you've got, and this is not peculiar to the demolition industry, but it is within trades. I think a lot of industry sectors have grown accustomed to not having negativity. So to give you an example, the NFDC, National Federation of Demolition Contractors, for years had its own magazine called Demolition Dismantling. I know that because I was the editor of it for a few years. It only ever wrote about NFDC members, and it only ever wrote in glowing terms. We would report on changes in legislation and what that might mean, but when we were talking about the various NFDC members, everything was upbeat, everything was shiny and rosy, everything was positive. As a result, you've got decades and decades and generations of NFDC member companies who basically expect everybody to say nice things about them, which I'm more than happy to do if there are nice things to say. But if it turns out that you're an NFDC member and you've been involved in an accident, a fatality, collusion, that's what the news does. As I say, I think they've had kind of a cosseted lifetime where nobody ever says anything bad about them. And I mean, genuinely, I don't go looking for bad. As you've seen from this show, I love showing off new machines and new technology. I had a long chat yesterday with a guy that I met at the Institute of Demolition Engineers, who has developed an AI to fulfill tender bid documentation. So, if you're a demolition contractor and you're receiving tenders all the time, this AI will blast them back, but it blasts them back using your information, and your tender submissions look absolutely the dog's doodads. I'll be showing that to you very, very soon. And I'm more than happy to show that and to share it and to say what I think of it, which I think is a very good thing. But if somebody dies, if women or racial minorities are being abused on site, which they are, I'll talk about it. Gary Muirhead says, cheers, Jim. Likewise. What was that about? Jim Turner says, I thought the track machine is a Sumitomo. Isn't Kubota's duck a Liebherr? Yes, I think it is. I'm sure it is. Dan says, facts are what counts, not lies or BS. Yeah. And the crazy thing with this is, as I say, this is replicated across different industry sectors. But the demolition industry and the construction industry, I think, can smell a phony at about 100 paces. If you are claiming to know about the industry and you don't, they'll spot it. The shiny PPE and things like that are a dead giveaway, but they will spot it. And if you took something like the CMA investigation or a fatal accident and either didn't report it but tried to put a positive spin on it, they will see that. There was a case a few years ago where there was a scaffold collapse on a site being operated by McGee down at Reading Station. And I'm fairly sure I was the only person that reported that. Obviously, the NFDC wouldn't want to do that because that's one of their major members, so they kept it under wraps and everything else. But I reported on it multiple times and so on down the line. And then a few months later, the NFDC worked with McGee to produce an animated video on the subject of scaffolding in demolition. In other words, let's pretend that the collapse never happened. Here's us doing the right thing by the industry. Now, I've got no problem doing the right thing by the industry. But surely you have to acknowledge the fact that something went tits up, and but for the grace of God, people could have been injured or killed in that. But no, it was presented as, yeah, here we are. The industry knew. The entire industry knew. They knew it was a McGee site. They knew where it was in the approach to Reading railway station. They knew that it was McGee's holding, but there was a subcontractor actually doing the work. Everyone knew that. And to present those facts in any other way, the entire industry would have gone, this guy don't know what he's talking about. It's nonsense. The industry is full of flurries talking rubbish. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Isn't the new 14-ton Kubota a Sumitomo? So, see, you've got me doubting myself now. I know that in the run-up to Bauma, there was a joint venture thing agreed. I tell you what, I'm not going to try and guess it. Let me have a look. Bear with me. I should know this, really. Yeah, 1st of April, 2025. Liebherr and Kubota announced a partnership. I don't know why I'm reading it to myself. I sometimes forget there are people watching. You want to see this as well. There you are. This is direct from the Liebherr website. Liebherr and Kubota are combining their expertise, establishing long-term partnership, blah-de-blah-de-blah. The first result of the cooperation, 2 new-wheeled excavators in the 9 and 11-ton class. So maybe the 14-tonner is, in fact, a Sumitomo. Maybe that's where I've got my wires crossed. The 2 Liebherr wheeled excavators are in the 9 and 11-ton class are the first machines to be equipped with a Kubota engine. So that's that. Let me have a look and see if I can find, what are we saying? Kubota. That's not how you spell Kubota. And Sumitomo. See? People know their stuff. Kubota expands European lineup with 14-ton excavator through OEM agreement with Sumitomo. So, as it turns out, we were both right. There is a joint venture between Liebherr and Kubota for a 9 and 11-ton excavators, but at the 14-tonner, it is in fact a Sumitomo, and that is what it looks like. That's the U145 right there. I'm not sure I could tell that was a Sumitomo, actually. Maybe it's just the colours throwing me off, but yeah, there you are. Amid growing demand for housing due to global population growth, the expected increase in construction work as a result of infrastructure investment, blah, 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 blah. Hydraulic excavators, no, that's all nonsense. Don't need to know any of that. Yeah, apparently it's a 14-tonner, short tail swing. Yeah, and there is the specs. It's the U145, 14.5 to 15.2 tons, 76.4 kilowatt engine, and there's the intended uses. No, not that you need to know that. So there you are. Yeah, well, it turns out you can both be right at the same time. Andy Thornton says, I get that companies need to protect their brand, but there's allegiance and there's blind allegiance. Companies should take as much pride in promoting we found an issue and correcting it. If only that were the case. There's a guy in the UK demolition industry called Richard Dolman. He's away on holiday at the moment, so we won't be hearing this. But I'm going to say nice things about him, so even if anybody does play it for him, he'll be happy. So Richard Dolman of AR Demolition tried to start a database of near misses, accidents, even fatal accidents, basically as like a central repository of accident information. So everybody that had ever suffered a near miss, an accident, fatality, feed it all in, and then you could analyze it and say, okay, well, we've clearly got a problem in this area. We need to improve the training in this area. We may even need to invent new training because this particular thing is a problem. AR Demolition actually had an accident on one of their sites, tracking a machine across some concrete. Turns out there was a void that nobody knew about. Machine keeled over. Operator, not badly hurt, but hurt. Obviously quite a bit of damage to the machine. The day that happened, Richard Dolman and AR Demolition had taken photographs and issued a statement saying, this is what happened. We are investigating, and we will put details of our findings on this database. If anybody else would like to share details of their accidents, near misses, we will share them, and we will all learn from them. No take up. No take up at all. I think he tried to convince the NFDC to back it. They didn't. I'm not entirely sure if the IDE ever backed it, but basically it ended up with one person saying, we had a problem and we are willing to share that information. And the rest of the industry went, not for us, thanks. Jim Turner says, companies publishing the fuck-ups will gain them respect and trust. Trying to brush it under the carpet gets them the opposite reaction. Let me tell you a story. Oddly enough, also about Richard Dolman. They had done a job where they had encountered, I wish I could remember where the original one was. They'd encountered a really strange design and construction roof. And when they started the demolition, it was clear that the roof was going to be a problem. They consulted externally, and the basic agreement was, look, there is no way we can do the demolition without that roof falling. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a system in place, huge exclusion zone. We will allow the roof to collapse, but we are controlling the collapse, which is what happened. A few of their rival companies tried to make mileage out of that. Oh, look, they had a collapse. Oh, you wouldn't get that with us. They had a collapse and everything else. Well, not content with allowing the collapse to happen, Richard Dolman stood up at an Institute of Demolition Engineers meeting and explained exactly the process they'd been through. Basically, as an education, if ever you come across one of these roofs, you need to be very careful because they do have a tendency to collapse. This guy was sat in the front row with a really old, crappy video camera. And I filmed him talking about what they'd encountered, how they'd dealt with it, how they'd allowed it to collapse and everything else. Again, the assembled audience AR demolition, they allowed a roof to collapse, they're not very good and everything else. Lo and behold, about 6 months later, they got a phone call. AR Demolition got a phone call from the contractor, the main contractor, Tier 1, doing King's Cross Station in London, where they had, surprise, surprise, exactly the same roof construction. And they phoned up AR Demolition and said, look, you appear to be the only bugger that knows how to deal with these things. Can you come and have a look? They went and had a look. They won the contract, about £500,000, if memory serves me correctly. And they won the job by being honest and saying, we've hit a problem. We know it's a problem. We've allowed for the problem. We've risk assessed it. We've taken a big step back, allowed the roof to come down, and we've done it under controlled circumstances. And as a result, they won themselves a not insignificant contract just because they were honest. So going back to Jim Turner there, companies publishing the fuck-ups will gain the respect and trust. Yes, and will win the work. I have documented proof of that. Did AR Demolition ever send me any money because I'd featured them in such a positive light and allowed them to win that work? No. No, they didn't. But such is life. Andy Thornton saying, well said, Jim. I think that'll probably do us for today. Very quickly, I'm working on a couple of things. I'm hoping to get this one done for tomorrow. I've been thinking about, we're fast approaching the 10th anniversary of Didcot, and I'm due to speak to Yorkshire TV or someone fairly soon about that very thing. And I've been thinking about it. Think about it quite a bit. But when you think about how this country handles investigations in which the working man and the working woman is the victim, think about how long it took to investigate Hillsborough. Think about how long it took to investigate Grenfell. Think about how long it took to investigate the post office saga. Truth be told, had it not been for that TV series, the post office saga would probably still be going on. And then think about Didcot, 10 years, as I say, in February. And when you think about a couple of those, the post office being one, Hillsborough being the other, not only were the victims, people died as a result. There were a few suicides in amongst the post office thing, but they were blamed. The immediate aftermath of Hillsborough, the police, the fans were doing this, and they were attacking the police and robbing from the dead and all that sort of stuff. Nonsense. They were actually blamed. And again, the post office, they were blamed. You are clearly thieves. And we're not going to rush through an investigation to help anyone that's had their hand in the till. Turns out they hadn't. It was an accounting issue. So that's what I've got in mind for tomorrow. It'll be cheery, I promise, because you know how I love to do happy and cheery. Anyway, people. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other thing I'm working on, I did go through my notes yesterday. Not as far on with my Halloween story as I remembered. I actually wrote that about 3 months ago and parked it. I thought, oh, I'm on my way now. I'll go back to that and just finish that off. Nah, not at all. But I do have some fairly long flights, and I've got some evenings in America, so I'm planning to sit down and piece that together. Not a ghost story, not a spooky story, not a scary story this time. It's just going to be a straight up story, and I'm going to do it the same as I did last year's. Actually, just get the AI to read it, and you can just listen along like an audio book. See what you think. As I say, that will do us for today. I will be back tomorrow for the penultimate show before my trip to the States. Hope you can join us. Until then, everybody, have a good day. See you soon.